What if one of the biggest names in hip-hop, a man who built an empire, was hiding a dark secret? A secret so horrific that it would make you question everything you thought you knew about him. Diddy, the man who's been a staple in the music industry for decades, has more than just hits on his resume. Behind the fame, the parties, and the endless success, there's a darker side. A side filled with shocking allegations, lawsuits, and a trail of victims who claim he took advantage of his power in ways that would make your skin crawl. But the question is, how did he get away with it for so long? And what happens when the truth finally comes to light? Sean "Diddy" Combs wasn't always the untouchable music mogul we know today. Back in the early 90s, he was just another ambitious young man working at a record label in New York City. But Diddy wasn't content with being behind the scenes. He had big dreams, an empire to build, and a legacy to cement. And along the way, he made headlines for all the wrong reasons. It all started at a music industry party, where Diddy's charm quickly turned dark. Among the crowd were two women, Lisa and her friend. The party was in full swing. Laughter, drinks, and casual conversation filled the room. But what happened after would leave a lasting scar. Allegations later surfaced that Diddy and an associate coerced Lisa and her friend to an after-party where they were subjected to shocking abuse. Around the same time, another story emerged involving a woman named Joy. She was a college student, a far cry from the glitz and glam of Diddy's budding career. Their date started innocently enough, but by the end of the evening, everything changed. Reports claim that Diddy slipped something into her drink, leaving her disoriented and vulnerable. What followed was a horrifying series of events, including assault, and the disturbing claim that he filmed the encounter to show others. These early allegations set a grim tone for what would follow in Diddy's rise to fame. And yet, they were just the beginning. As Diddy's career skyrocketed, so did his reputation. By the early 2000s, he wasn't just a record mogul. He was hip-hop royalty, living the lavish lifestyle that most only dream of. But his fame and fortune gave him more than just influence in the music world. It allowed him to throw extravagant parties that became the stuff of legend, most famously his white parties. These gatherings were nothing out of the ordinary for Hollywood elites. Celebrities, models, musicians, and the city's movers and shakers would flock to these events, all dressed in white, with champagne flowing and the night seemingly endless. But beneath the surface, not everything was as glamorous as it seemed. These parties were a breeding ground for darker deeds. One night, Diddy met a young man, someone we'll call anonymous, who was eager to break into the entertainment world. Diddy, ever the power player, made him a promise. "I can make you a star." What Anonymous didn't realize, however, was that this star-making came with a disturbing price. In exchange for Diddy's help, he was asked to strip down, forced to participate in a degrading act. This wasn't just about music or business. This was about control. And this was only the beginning. As the years went on, Diddy's parties became known for their increasingly bizarre and disturbing nature. Drugs, alcohol, and young, impressionable people would come and go. But it wasn't just the substances that were the problem. Diddy had a reputation for pushing boundaries, often crossing lines that should never have been touched. The shocking rumors only multiplied, with whispers about what really went on behind closed doors at these parties. Then came Cassie, the beautiful and talented singer who quickly caught Diddy's eye. At just 19, Cassie was at the peak of her potential, a fresh face with a voice to match. She and Diddy began a romance that seemed perfect on the surface, the kind of high-profile relationship that only the world of hip-hop can foster. But what looked like a fairy tale was anything but. Behind closed doors, Diddy's controlling nature began to surface. While they were dating, Cassie found herself trapped in a relationship that slowly turned darker. Diddy, it seemed, couldn't keep his private desires hidden for long. He continued hosting his infamous white parties, but he also began organizing a more secretive and dangerous event, the freak-offs. These parties weren't just wild gatherings of celebrities. They were breeding grounds for exploitation. At these exclusive events, Diddy allegedly invited young, attractive women, offering them drugs and alcohol, pushing them to cross boundaries they hadn't intended to. The twist? Diddy reportedly pressured them to engage with male sex workers while he watched and often filmed the acts. These so-called freak-offs, they happened frequently, and sometimes they lasted for days, fueled by drugs, alcohol, and Diddy's insatiable power. Even Cassie wasn't immune to this twisted world Diddy created. Reports say she was coerced into participating in these parties, forced to be part of the disturbing scenes playing out before her eyes. But Diddy's need for control didn't stop there. On multiple occasions, Cassie became the target of his rage. One night, after Diddy witnessed her talking to another talent agent, he flew into a jealous rage. What followed was terrifying. He allegedly shoved her into a car and began physically assaulting her. But the violence didn't end there. Another time, enraged by Cassie's actions, Diddy threw a hot frying pan at her. The abuse grew more frequent, more dangerous, but what was most chilling? Despite the abuse, Cassie found herself constantly trying to leave, only to be pulled back into his toxic grip. One night, after an intense argument, Cassie attempted to leave the hotel room. As she walked toward the elevator, Diddy, fueled by anger, pursued her. When the security footage was later uncovered, it showed Diddy in a fit of rage, grabbing her by the neck, slamming her to the ground, and viciously kicking her until she lay unconscious. Cassie wasn't the only one who tried to escape his clutches, but for those who sought to leave, it was clear. Getting away from Diddy wasn't easy, and for many, it was nearly impossible. Cassie had reached her breaking point. She couldn't take it anymore. The abuse, the manipulation, the constant fear. After yet another violent outburst, she knew she had to leave. One fateful night, after a vicious argument, she saw her chance. As Diddy passed out, intoxicated and unaware, Cassie grabbed her suitcase and made a break for it. Security footage from the hotel later showed her walking to the elevator, suitcase in hand. It seemed like she had finally escaped, but Diddy wasn't so easy to shake off. As Cassie waited for the elevator, Diddy, half naked and enraged, sprinted down the hall after her, towel in hand. What happened next was nothing short of terrifying. Diddy caught up with her and, in a fit of rage, allegedly grabbed her by the neck, throwing her to the ground. He kicked her mercilessly, leaving her unconscious. The brutality of the attack was captured on security footage, a horrifying reminder of what Cassie had endured behind the scenes. There was no defending what happened. It was pure violence, and it was only a glimpse into the darkness that had overtaken their relationship. But even after this horrifying incident, Cassie couldn't break free so easily. It wasn't until much later that she found the courage to file a lawsuit, triggering a cascade of legal battles for Diddy. With the passing of the Adult Survivors Act in New York, victims like Cassie had a renewed opportunity to seek justice, even for crimes that happened years earlier. Cassie wasn't the only one who took advantage of this one-year window. In 2022, everything came crashing down for Diddy. The floodgates opened, and one by one, women began to speak out, accusing him of abuse, assault, and exploitation. Cassie's lawsuit against him was just the tip of the iceberg. On the very same day she filed her suit, another woman named Joy stepped forward with her own chilling accusations. Lisa, the woman allegedly assaulted at that infamous after-party years earlier, also filed a lawsuit. Then came Lil Rod, a former associate of Diddy who had once worked on his music projects. He too accused Diddy of abuse, claiming that he had been drugged, assaulted, and manipulated during his time working with the mogul. And the list of accusers didn't stop there. These women weren't just victims, they were the brave voices that sparked a tidal wave of legal actions. Diddy's once spotless reputation was now tainted beyond repair. Each lawsuit piled on the pressure, with accusations of everything from sexual assault to harassment, leaving Diddy and his legal team scrambling to defend him. Despite the overwhelming evidence and the mounting lawsuits, Diddy's team continued to deny any wrongdoing, even as the media swarmed with headlines detailing the horrifying allegations. But the real turning point came when the federal authorities, after years of investigation, began to take action. The federal investigation into Diddy wasn't just a rumor, it was very real. For years, authorities had been quietly building their case, gathering evidence, and talking to victims. And once they had enough probable cause, they moved fast. In 2022, Homeland Security raided Diddy's properties in both Los Angeles and Miami. What they found was shocking: drugs, illicit materials, and over 1,000 bottles of baby oil, which allegedly were used during the infamous freak-off parties. The sight of federal agents storming his homes sent shockwaves through the entertainment world. Diddy had long been untouchable, operating with near impunity for decades, but now the law was catching up to him. As the investigation gained momentum, even Diddy's vast network of connections seemed powerless to stop it. But that wasn't the worst of it. With the discovery of damning evidence and mounting public pressure, the media began to break the silence on Diddy's dark world. The security footage of the violent hotel attack on Cassie, which had once been hidden away, was now in the hands of the public. CNN released the footage for the world to see, and the fallout was immediate. Diddy's once unshakable reputation had been shattered. Now he faced not only civil lawsuits, but also criminal charges. The accusations that had once seemed unbelievable were now impossible to ignore. Diddy, the powerful mogul who had dominated the music industry for decades, was facing his biggest battle yet, one that could take everything from him. Diddy's rise to the top of the entertainment world seemed unstoppable. From his humble beginnings to becoming the face of hip-hop culture, he built an empire that many could only dream of. But now, after decades of rumors and whispers, the truth is out. The man who once symbolized success, power, and influence in the music industry is now facing a slew of accusations that paint a much darker picture of his life behind the scenes. What started as a series of isolated allegations has now exploded into a legal nightmare. Dozens of lawsuits, criminal investigations, and heartbreaking testimonies have shattered Diddy's public persona. His unchecked behavior, once hidden in the shadows, has now come to light in a way that no one could have predicted. As Diddy awaits trial, the question remains: how did he hide all this for so long, and what happens next?